Very good. So, any questions so far? If not,
I might have a question.
sure.
Like I'm wondering, maybe in big companies that have a marketing department, maybe they have UX employees even.
Yeah.
Or how would you see it? What kind of function would be perceived UX? And do you think it's like one whole thing, or is it really like separate teams?
So, yes and no. So, yes, meaning that so they are performing separately as a UX team. They have their own process to do user research and providing like testing, usability, testing, whatever they're doing. And on the other side, marketers they have this campaign or anything that they're doing. They have their own process. But when it comes to the consistency, they need to use the one single source of tools of content strategies and also patterns. So meaning that they don't need to combine, so they need to have a process to interact with each other as a separate team, right? As a, for example, alignment sessions, as a retro between UX and marketers to actually do this alignment. So we have this, we have these updates, we have these kind of new features that we're introducing or new components or new color palettes, but they need to align together. That's the thing. And what I've seen in even in the giant companies, so they don't actually interact with each other. They just discussed by their own team members, and they just release something that's completely different.
Mhm.
And then, as you see at the end, it's
And do you think there's like an umbrella strategy on top of that? Let's say
absolutely,
that they're both-
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
maybe that's the start.
Yeah, yeah. It's defining the process. It's defining the process. Well, we will discuss a bit in a later, slides and further as we're discussing. Just a little bit. And yeah, any more question? No. Oh, good. Okay. So just quickly, I just put in here the tension between the user experience and designers and also marketing folks. So as I mentioned earlier, I think at the beginning of the talk, so marketers they're focusing on immediate result, meaning that they have this campaign and they're designing something, a landing page, whatever. So there's a deadline for that, and they're just seeking for immediate result after when they're running a campaign, and then they want to see it immediately. And but on the other side, user experience designers they need to prioritize. They need to understand, the task of the user, and based on complexity of the features, they need to chunk it out in different pieces, and then they need to put it into a sprint, and they need to do research, and that's essential for them to come to the final solution. So yeah, that's the big I think tensions between the UX designers and marketers. So if we actually define as in the previous slide, as I mentioned about the consistent patterns and also content strategy, if we have it in place, I mean the content and the personas and the patterns, it's really easy to uh, actually define some process. But if we don't have these kind of consistent patterns and uh, how the strategies, content strategies in place, it's really hard to actually start to negotiate with the marketers inside the big organization. So yeah, that's the one tension that I want to mention. And here quickly, I just put the activities that the digital marketers are doing. They're just focusing on SEO. They uh, pay per click. So these are the things that they are seeking to increase conversion. Email marketing is a big part of marketing activity, and also analytics and reports, and also content marketing. So these are the basic activities that marketers are doing on a daily basis. Just a quick overview again, and user experience. So user experience on the other side, you have this information architecture definitions at the beginning of the project or feature, which actually defines how usable is that the information flow that to the user and at the end when they're completing the task. And then we have UI designers, of course, we have wireframing and prototyping, which is a part of the day-to-day process into the design process. We have usability testing and user exploration, which is consists of many types of user research and market research as well. So, having said that, how we can collaborate together as a UX designers and marketers. So, I just put 3 points here as just a quick starting point. So, regular cross-functional meeting, meaning that in on each team, so cross-functional, so let's have a shared understanding about cross-functional. It means that you need to have different roles from different departments in one team. So, as for example, six, five, it can go up to 10 people in one team. So, you need to define as a starting point to have these later meetings with the cross-functional team members, consist of marketers, designers, product owners, product managers, developers as well. So you need to involve developers as well into the marketing meetings, as marketing and user experience. It's really uh, helping you to understand the mindsets internally and then redefining your process. Uh, and then the next starting point would be utilizing a shared language. A shared language means you need to have a templates to negotiate with the cross-functional team. Templates needs to have agenda and needs to have some topics to discuss and needs to have an outcome. And then when you have these three things, these three pillars, you're gonna have a very much efficient, meeting between your team members. And then you need to prepare these kind of templates beforehand if you're starting to have negotiation inside the organization. And then once you have all these things, you can define the same objectives. So I have, regular meetings, I have my templates, and then I can start to have the same objective. So by same objective, I means, so when you have a campaign, so you need to understand, is it usable? Is it, understandable? Is it follow the same UI pattern? Is it actually uh, same the color? Is it the same color pattern? So then you have this small process inside the organizations that will be a great starting point to build a great marketer and user experience design team inside the organization. So these are some key points to understand when you're building this process. This process when you're cross-functional meeting and shared, sorry, uh, utilizing a shared language or defining the same objective or same goal. So for that, you need to have some kind of tools to collaborate. One of the best, I think, tools is to understand the customer journey map. Customer journey map is basically your having a map to understand the touch points of a specific feature, from the starting point to the end. So when you have this shared understanding, so between the marketers and user experience designers, so we have this flow and then we have these touch points and then we find these touch points as you can see. I put an example here. So I now I think you cannot read it, but yeah, maybe I can dedicate a session for user journey path later. But yeah, you capture the emotion of the users as they're interacting with each steps or each touch points. And then based on this, you can actually discuss with marketers and also designers to improve the touch points. And then maybe if we have if we have a competitor analysis in front of us ready, we can see, okay, this is our best features that customers feel happy about this, and then we can run a campaign about this. You see how user experience designers can help marketers to actually run campaigns and understand this is the touch point, this is the feature. Our customers are really happy, so we can have a specific campaign for this specific feature. So yeah, this is the good tool that you can read about this. But if you would want to understand, we can in session for that as well. And the other key point is that data-driven decision making, meaning that user designers, sometimes I see they're just making decisions by their own, gut feeling. Okay, I feel that is good, so let's move forward with this one. I feel user will love this because, oh, I love these features. Maybe user love it. This is a gut feeling, and there is no evidence that user will love this. So you need to always, as a marketer or as a UX designer, rely on data. So data meaning that you need to do usability testing as a UX designer, or when you're running a campaign and work on the marketing side, you need to understand the rates and also the conversion list. You need to go to the dashboard and then, for example, understand all of these meaning of the data that you're receiving, and then coming to the meeting and to discuss this is the conversion list of the last campaign. This is the, for example, data from our user experience. This is the data from usability testing that we found for the specific feature that we launched, for example, 2 weeks ago. And then combining these two data, we can have an improvement for a user experience. As you can see, collaborations, really collides when we have data, when we have the shared objective, when we have a shared goal, to pursue. So, any question? No? Okay. So as you're building a process, creating feedback loop is really important in a sense that you can actually have this kind of internal feedback loop between the cross-functional teams to see how they are actually feel about your product. If you don't have access to many users, just to test your applications, you can have internal, feedback loop, and then you can test your, prototype with your marketers because they have the understanding of the features and they know a bit of user experience. So you can test your prototype with your marketers or with your developers internally if you don't have access to user outside, or if it's costly for you to reach out to the user to do some user analytics. And this feedback loop actually helps to have some shared insight, as I mentioned here. You can learn from each other. You can learn from different people. Different people have different mindsets, so that's a good thing. Even internally, even as a colleague when you're interacting with your colleague, and then you can refine your goal or objectives based on that. Immediately. If you don't have time, if you're limited on time and budget, so you can do this kind of you know feedback loop internally. So this is also another key point that I mentioned. So far, if you recap, we have user customer journey mapping, we have data-driven decision making, and we have feedback loop, which is also interesting. And at the end, Ben wants to have discuss all these things. You have defined some, common goals so that we match it, as I discussed earlier. So you have this campaign you need to run, or you have this problem on the last campaign, and then we didn't actually understand what was the problem when we actually have this call to actions in the landing page. User experience can come and they can improve the usability of any very simple landing page as well, and as well as the very specific, complex flow that they have. So defining a common goal is in a meeting is really interesting. And when you have this template ready, as I mentioned earlier, so you need to have agenda, you need to have a discussions topic, and then you need to have outcome. And then at the outcome, so you need to define the common goal. So this is the goal for another 2 weeks. So we're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and then we combine together. And then in 2 weeks we can catch up to see how we are progressing. So, and at the end, when you're actually doing collaborations and having this kind of templates and having this kind of outcomes, and at the end, for example, if you're talking about Agile have 1 or 2 weeks sprint. So let's imagine an ideal world that we have this Agile approach in our organizations. After 2 weeks, we need to, or after 1 week, we need to sit together to actually see how successful we actually uh, have been in our process. So, and then revisiting the process and refining it more as like a normal agile process, right? So at the end of each sprint, you just evaluating your process and you're just discussing the pain points internally, and then you can refine for the next, the sprint or next session. So next session we're gonna sit together. So this is the pain point on our side. This is the pain point on your side, and then we can define and refine, and our goals come together. And then I also mentioned here in the conversion and customer retention. This is the report that they need to constantly communicate between the UX designers and marketers, because sometimes I've seen this before. Marketers, they have this report, but they don't want to share it with user experience because, okay, they say they don't understand, these kind of topics. But as we are defining this process internally, so they will get the idea of what the conversion rate means and then how they can improve it as a UX designer. So providing, again, so we go back to the topic that we need to have a one single source of truth for sharing data. So this is the conversion rate, for example, for the last campaign. This is the topic that we actually find pain points and as a marketer, and then these are the usability test results that we found that. So it needs to be in one place. So it needs to be shared throughout the whole organization. So it needs to be transparent to everybody in the organization. And the way we present it needs to be defined, not just in, as I mentioned earlier, about the categorizations, about personas, that's one way. And then also we need to categorize them, the results in another way. But it has to be one single script of yes. I'm always mentioning and insisting on this because it's important. If you're not following this same, it's going to be a mess at the end of the day when you're sharing. Somebody shares the data in Excel, another person shares in Jira, Confluence page, and then we want to combine this, we want to present it to the stakeholders, so what a mess. So it needs to be defined at the very, very earliest stage. So that's really helping everybody. So this is the suggested design operation. So focus, I put it as a design operation focus because it's like a design approach to handle and also solve a problem inside the organization. But also marketers, they can use this, so to say, a teeny tiny framework to actually streamline their workflow. So some process needs to be defined. So I just want to answer that because I realized I talked a lot. So what time is it? Yeah, well, 1 hour, yeah. But yeah, let me just quickly get over here. So the first thing that you need to have a design process, meaning that you need to have these alignments between the different teams inside the organization, how to uh, define and deliver your designs or new design or redesign, anything that is related to design. So, and then in this phase, you can define your templates, your content strategies, your guidelines, your UI patterns, anything that is related, to the design that can be shared throughout the whole organization. And then you of course need to introduce your design tools, which is mostly nowadays the Figma is a very collaborative way. So and marketers, designers, they're using one tools, which is good. So they can have this kind of participatory design sessions together, and doing all this stuff, and then building new components, building guideline together. So that's really feasible nowadays because we have Figma. And so design knowledge, which I mentioned earlier, one single sort of truth. So you need to have one single sort of truth for your storing data and reports, which whether it's Jira or Confluence page, whether it's Excel file, anything. So you decide based on your requirement, based on your budget. So you need to define it as well into the process and put it into the process. And then the design strategy, which says how often you're going to deliver the design, how often you're going to have, market research or campaigns or or marketing campaigns and so on. So you will define in your design strategy, which needs to be revisited every month or every 2 weeks, every sprint, and they need to refine these strategies depending on the growth of the product. And at the end, you need to have this kind of design culture, which provides some learning material for your internal team, then giving them a feeling of, progressing in their career. So if you're startups or if you're big organizations, doesn't matter. So if you have this kind of design culture and providing a learning material or providing a way for them to grow, so you will benefit at the end of the day because you're helping them to grow and they feel they're helping you to grow as well. So that's really a good and interesting point if you can embed it into your design process. It doesn't matter if it's marketing team or uh, design team. So you can have a small university inside your organization, which is nowadays very simple so to build it. And yeah, Having said that, this is a suggested, so you can define it for yourself, but I think this is the suggested design operations that we can have, and supporting the team, also uh, having a single sort of knowledge sharing, so on, which is really prominent to move forward as a startup or as a big organization. And as a marketer, so as a designers, we have this process. Usually, this is a very linear and a typical design process. We ideate, we research, develop, test, and deploy. But in the research phase, so where marketers and designers they can actually sit together to understand actually it's the same goals and objectives. So that's why I put it and emphasize as a because we have in the research phase we have this kind of app analytics, we have this kind of heat mapping, which is understanding how the user interact with a specific feature or product or a specific flow, so to say. And then we have these user surveys, we have all the user interviews, A/B testing that which is related to the user experience activities. Also, it can be combined and shared with the marketers because sometimes the A/B testing helps marketers to know, for example, is the design A or B, which one is better to actually move forward, which whether it's a placement of a button or the placement of a picture. So these kind of results, which usually user experience are expert to do this, can actually benefit marketers to making decisions into their next campaign or activity that they're doing. So yeah, again, marketers can come and follow the same approach here, as they are ideating, and then they can do research, and then they can run a campaign and test the campaign and deploy and measure before, measure after. This is really helpful as they're interacting with designers. They will give them this kind of process to them to learn more about their process. So it gives them some design thinking, so to say, mindset to the marketers how to deal with the campaigns and how to interact with actual users. Because as UX designers, we love working with people. We love just sitting with the people and listen to them, understanding their nuances and understanding the pain points. We love that. So we can actually foster this kind of mindset to the marketers to think like us and then to collaborate in the same way with us to achieve the same goal. And to wrap up, so the continuous improvement, as you can see, I just put some keywords here, as you can see, feedback loop, alignment sessions, collaborative design tools that I mentioned earlier, and then setting a common goals, sharing data, all we discussed here, conducting user research. This is something that it needs to be done every sprint, every week, every month. So these are the cycles that they need to be revisited once in a while. So revisiting the strategies all the time, you need to revisit and then you need to refine your strategies and then if whether it's a design approach or a marketing approach. So yeah, as a final word, so I just made up some words here. I call it user-centric marketing, which is combination of user experience design and marketing. So yeah, I mean, using insight from user research is always valuable for both teams. So research, as I also emphasized in previous slides, it's very crucial for both teams. And then if you want to have some takeaways from these sessions, we have conversion optimizations, which is actually requires the bold collaborations between UX designers and marketers. For example, in a campaign, if they're not successful, user experience designers can come and to understand the usability problem immediately from the page of the landing page, whether it's a visual hierarchy problem, whether it's a coloring problem, whether it's a, I don't know, foreground or background colors, they can immediately distinguish and tell you, okay, this is the wrong approach. This is against our brand guideline, or this is against our, UI pattern. So you can refine it and then you can test it again. And then you always need the data-driven UX, so meaning that you always need data to design or redesign something new. So it should not be gut feeling, it should not be something that, oh, I love this, so I'm gonna approach, and then this would be my final design. So you should always rely on data. Data is very crucial, always, always. And then finally, you need to have this kind of user feedback loop internally where you can have kind of use of opinion of your colleagues to understand so and refine your processes as you are developing the internal process for collaboration. Okay, and if there's no question, I think that's all. So that was an eye opener, as I was mentioning. It's not in-depth discussions. It was just a holistic view of collaborations between UX and marketers. So maybe in later sessions we can go deeper into customer journey mapping, maybe build up personas, how we can build a persona and so on, and different approaches. But for now, yeah, thank you so much for being patient and yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, it was very. Thank you so much. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, here's my LinkedIn. And if you need a free UX design mentor, so I'm also an ADP list, so you can book a session with me. It's free, so you're not going to pay anything. So yeah, if you need a roadmap for learning user experience or anything related to experience, I'll give you help. So wherever I can. Yeah, and finally, I'm going to actually build a design agency in Lisbon in 1 or 2 months, focusing on the design workshops, which is actually lacking nowadays. So I'm going to specifically focusing on the workshop of the design and how it can actually collaborate between the teams and introducing new ways of collaboration. Thank you so much. I have one question. Sure. What would you can advise us so about your experience? For example, to combine marketing team, iOS team, to explain because we have different mind, different focus. So which is the best tool that you can recommend us to use when we are collaborate between two departments? Yeah, I would say that because I'm very familiar and also comfortable with Figma because it's very collaborative tool, so you can work remotely. So you can have some templates for marketers, and you can build some templates for UX designers, and then you can collaborate, simultaneously on one project all together in Figma. And then you can actually build your knowledge base here as well. You don't need, for example, Jira or Confluence to build your knowledge base. You can write, you can create some slide. As you can see, I created this slide in Figma, so you can share between the teams, and then as two teams, you can collaborate on one slide, and you can refine it, and you can present reports. And there's so many plugins that you can use for building a new patterns, building color, brands, or anything, UI components. So I think I would say Figma would be the best and very usable and very easy to use. And then like collaborate because I use it all the time. And then the team, I only use Figma. Whenever there's Excel file, I just put it, convert it, and put it in the Figma. This is the result. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
What's your personal favorite UX case that you kind of tackled and maybe I don't know you launched a feature or something and you saw or improved or made some steps and then I don't know maybe it resulted in financial metrics or something.
Yeah, I have so many examples. So I worked in, for example, previously I worked in Mercedes-Benz digital hub here in Lisbon. So I was part of the Mercedes Me applications, which is booking, for example, service for a car, for a Mercedes car, and then there was a flow that was very complex for the user to actually book a service and then to select a specific date. And we did a lot of in-field research. I went to specific in different cities in Portugal to understand how they interact, just observe them, and then how they interact, how they booking the service, and then how they are, sending the service and how they read about the service and booking and paying and so on. So after that, it was very complex and we came back and with 5 designers, we couldn't finalize after 3 months the good flow. Again, we did another surveys and then going back to the field. And then after that, we did some design sprint sessions. Design sprints, which is a 1 week activity that you sit down, you lock down your room for 1 week with different designers and product managers to ideate and generate different things. Worst case, best case. But that practice helped us a lot, and then we came up with the final solutions, and which is actually we optimized the flow, and it was I think it was around 12 pages with a lot of interactions. We reduced it to 5, and then it lets much less interactions and touch points, and that was a huge success. I would say this, and then we appreciate about the feature. This is one feature, but I have so many examples that I can give you. In banking, for example, for payments, I remember in fintech. I remember just I changed the patterns from the side menu from the action sheet, which is coming up from the bottom of the mobile phone, which increased 8% of the conversion rates for the payments. Instead of you see, this is the mindset that the user will need to understand. So they like to be like this because they have this approach in Apple, for example, tablet or phones. So we understand that. In order to understand this, you need to go deep into the root cause of the problem. Getting to the root is really hard. So you ask a lot of questions, you have a lot of, workshops, because people say something but they do something else. So you need to see that something else and then going deep to find the root cause. Once you find that one, you're a winner. Yeah.
Thank you. And just a good one. Do you have this service or product that's for you that's a good example or your favorite user experience? But
I would say one of the most complex. I'll get to it. Yeah. One of the most complex is and also good is Notion. Have you used Notion? So if so, it's very good user experience in terms because you see a lot of features there, and then you can actually find your way around. The information architecture is really nice. It means that there's a lot of thinking behind this and research, and as well as ClickUp. I'm not sure if you have experience using ClickUp. It's like project management or tool like Jira. But I think it's much more better than Jira when you're working with that. The type of interactions that you have, the findability of the items, the task of the user is very clear. What I need to do now, next, is very clear. So that's the main objective of user experience. If you haven't used the ClickUp, please use it and tell me your opinion next time.
I actually don't like it that much. I prefer even Notion to manage boards.
Yeah.
Then
This is a task. Managing board is a different task for managing your, for example, people in a different way. So people have different mindset, right? So for different purposes, the task itself, serves the purpose of the user experience. You're more comfortable with, the board of Notion, but some people feel, for me, managing people in ClickUp is so easy. So I just put, yeah.
And in ClickUp, just there are ways for you to configure the tasks
Absolutely.
so that you can then have that database so researchable and you can understand issues or whatever way easier than in other platforms, the way that you could structure the database from the tasks. So
Absolutely.
it's very
That's what I like about ClickUp. Please, you have a question.
Yes. Maybe it's really question. So I work for a startup company and we have customers all across the world. You cannot satisfy all of them because you have cultural things. It's like the writing from right to left, not left to right. Scroll up, down. So what is your best advice on how to satisfy all when you are operating globally?
Exactly. So we have the same problem. So in a large organization, but the thing is, the first thing we need to do user research, right? So user research meaning that it needs to be user interviews. It needs to have surveys. It needs to have surveys needs to be a user researcher that design the service, not anybody in the organizations. It needs to be an subject matter experts to define these surveys and also interviews. And based on the data, we are going with the highest rate of the feature. For example, they prefer the school app or they prefer one dashboard, the highest rate, so we go with that. And then for pro users, we provide some functionality that they can configure in the way that they want. for example, from right to left or left to right. So basically, we are serving for the ease of use at the fundamental concept, and then later, if we have time and money, we can build some more advanced feature for Go users that they can configure these tasks in a way that they want. So that's the best approach. So yeah, we need to solve the problem for the majority of the users, which is the ease of use, and to be very simple, very intuitive for them to take action. But of course, for users, we provide this kind of configurable dashboard for this.
Use domains because I work in a holding for 6 countries, and we got order a lot of domains, more than 18, with different products and also with different features inside. So it's a lot of work. You should have good CRM to provide this, but it's possible, and some companies use this system.
Absolutely. But if you have a consistent UI patterns or consistent, design library or design system in the organizations, it's very easy to actually have, streamlining all the modules, to look the same way to serve the specific task or actions in a similar way. The task itself is different, but actually the way to interact with it is similar to other modules. So if you have a design system, that solves a lot of problems. So many companies, they don't have design system. Now they're actually building up the design system. So for example, Google has, and joint companies, they have a design system. And well-known companies, they have. And then by design system, I mean that you have a lot of patterns and, not only the UI component patterns, also the layout patterns. For specific features, they have this layout pattern, and documented. So this is a pattern we follow for this specific task. If they're introducing new feature, that new features, if they are actually assessing between the previous version of the layouts, if one of the layouts is similar to this one, so they go with this layout. So it's actually familiar for the end users to interact with the new feature. So that's the best way to go with it. So, but some companies, they don't define this layout. They have only style guides, or which is not a design system. Design system is a huge topic that can cover and serve the best if you're building it from scratch. Yeah.
So, what are the pain points that you've seen between the UX team and the marketing team, and how did you solve them?
So the pain point, as I mentioned a couple of them in the slide, it's they're looking for immediate results. So they're not listening to us. Okay, wait for 1 week. Okay, no, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to run it out. And if this needs to be redesigned. Why? It has a problem with visual hardware, for example. It has a problem with coloring. So this is not conveying our brand's color. Okay, I'm going to be creative. Okay, you can be creative, but inside the color palette that we're introducing, not use random. Okay. Understanding these layouts and communicating that this is not the patterns that we're following, and then but they disagree about this. Sometimes they go by their own and then just generating something that is not.
You just called them.
Sometimes we need to compromise. Sometimes they need to compromise. Okay, that's it. So,
Thanks.
Yeah.
So I will turn on the light.
Sure.
I use that light because sometimes when I turn for surprise, like they wake up. Thank you. So I know what we have waiting.
Sure. Yeah, we have more questions.
One question and
it's just a question about the pool compared to complementary. Certain will quickly. Will you use it?
Yeah.
Together with customer journeys, or
So,
you think it's just it has actually just an added part of feeling, like how you think. And what I feel
exactly.
It's really important to you.
Absolutely. Before customer journey map, you need to have your service blueprint, which is the back stage and front stage of your service, right? But building a service blueprint requires, we say a couple of months, and it requires collaborations between all the teams inside the organizations.
Yes.
You need it's like a holistic roadmap, ecosystem map that you're going to follow as your basic fundamental strategy. So yeah, we've done it in our company, but it took, I don't know, 3 months or 4 months of collaborating, a lot of meetings between the different team and also, departments to actually get, for example, customer serving and also marketing, design, anything, sales. We need to involve all these people to build up the service blueprint, which is the ecosystem map. It's a superset of journey map. Journey map is just a specific task or flow. You're going inside to a specific modules and you understand the touch points and then you improve the touch points for that specific. But service blueprint is like holistic view as your base fundamental strategy that you're building. So you understand the back stage and versus the front stage, and then how they relate to each other. Departments, the different departments, the information flow, all the things you're documenting is service blueprint.
I see, thank you. But what I still struggle is to put everything inside this service blueprint because as it is like very huge and needs to encompass everything, I feel like there are many things to put there, and I feel like I still need to divide it into smaller modules. Like this is something that.
Yeah, you can build it over time, but it requires the collaborations between not only you, the other team members. They need to be involved in the process. They need to have an opinion about is it correct or not. So they can, they need to refine to you together, just by your side. So it's not a one person job, it's a team person job. So that's why you're struggling. So where should I put this? Where should I? Because you need sometimes you have questions, so you need to reach out to the salespeople, to the customer service people. So that's why. So you need to get a meeting. So we did this. Exactly. Yeah. Collaborating them is a tough job, I would say. We did this and then we involved many departments were very tough. And then it was 3 hours meeting each day just to discuss with them and then, to refine, okay, why you're doing this and then what's important for us. And then your participation is very important, crucial. And then, getting them into the meeting is hard, I understand. But if you have this kind of visual thing about why service blueprint is important, they will get interested to collaborate with you. But you need to have a workshop. You need to run a workshop 1.5 hour, not 3 hours, 1.5 hour, and then gradually building up, and then invite them in the next month for another 1.5 hour, just to building up the service blueprint.
I had this with my colleague, like I started to build it and I said her like it's important and so on, but I think she didn't get it quite right. But after when she got it, she was like, oh wow, this is so good, like to work on it. And then I understood, okay, maybe I need to explain better next time. Like,
maybe the best thing is to have workshops to explain to the people, and then asking help for them. This is introduction sessions, and then this is for example, later sessions for build these modules, next month these modules, but it needs to be in the workshop. Because if you're putting some comment in the feedback and then people don't get it, so if they have questions, they just ask and they just give you the generic opinion. That's the problem, Yeah, sure.
Do you have any suggestions regarding some tools to make like a first audit? Some website, imagine like our client comes into the agency, we want to check if everything works fine with UX, Like for example, I know there is a jar, but do you have any AI tools, new tools regarding that part? Like to make an audit of an existing project?
So yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, meaning that so you can actually check the basic things with AI. So even in the Figma, you can import your design. There's some AI plugins that you can do. Okay, check the visual hierarchy, typography, iconography, colors, or all the things related to the visual design. But the UX part, the UX audit part needs human. Why? Because human needs to understand the task. AI doesn't understand the task. Okay, it just sees the visual design, so it gives you the, for example, improvement for the visual design. But the user experience goes beyond the visual design. So you need to understand the task. That's why we have audit design, experts, in our company. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I just provide. So this is the points that you need to check in every design, and they go the task, and they understand the task, they understand the visual design, and then Yeah, for the visual design you can do it, but for the actual UX design it needs to be really subject matter expert to understand. Okay, this is the audit that I suggest. This is the pain point. This is the improvement that I suggest. It's always best to use humans. Yeah.
So we still have hope as marketers.
Of course, yeah.
If you do a project with huge bosses, and your stakeholders, they are the most important person in so this person doesn't have enough time to visit your master classes or to discuss this project.
Yeah.
What will you do to understand his what he prefer and what he exactly mean when he said I want the website or I want the application? Because usually they don't like to read huge documents, they don't like presentations. What do you do for this?
Yeah, for that I have a solution. So usually I have one single page of Figma, one single page, which is, I call it a problem definition board. And then 1 hour, just request 1 hour session. This is a one pager, and then there is the agenda, there is the outcome. In one page, you can find there is a pieces for that. I can share it with you, and then it's a very simple thing. So you go to the meeting, you ask a couple of questions based on the pieces that's in the page, and then there's an outcome, and then you define the expectations. And there's a chart. You put it on the chart. Well, as for example, there's effort and time. And by the ideations, you put it quickly there, and then you finalize. So this is the thing you want. Yes, I want this. So this is the outcome. And based on these documentations, you will start design. And then you can iterate over the design, as you're presenting, for example, the stakeholder. So you have the baseline, and then you present something. But after another sessions, you can invite them in 1 or 2 hours meeting again to do another workshops to understand deeper. So that's the best way to go. Because I know they don't like long meetings and they just hate and they just skate.
Yes.
1 hour, that's it. Not 1.5, 1 hour.
Yes. And the second part is how to understand the feelings about design, because usually it's about taste or what he prefer. It's not easy to understand in design. Colors, books. Okay, you got brand books, but you should logo book, brand book, style book, everything. But usually you can do it different. So maybe you got some feature for those works.
Yeah. So for that, if they don't understand the value of user experience, again we can present them visually, because visually always works. Just presenting the different layers of user experience. Usually I start by UI, and then so these are the UIs that we have, and then I scale it as the UX as a superset of UI, and then I have CX, which is customer experience, which is a superset of user experience. I present like these 3 layers of works that we need to run. So which one do you want? If you want UI, this is the UI. I can do it for you in one page again. So with very simple, visualizations and illustrations, and putting some keywords. This is UI, typography, iconography. This is UX, user research one, and this is customer experience, like understanding customer in depth research field, going into the customer side and understanding them. So which one do you want? Depending on the request, we have different prices, right? So this UI is simple, so I can present to improve the visual design. This is user experience, because I need to do user research and I need to spend a lot of time with the customers. So that's why it will take more and more effort and more money. So as they understand, okay, now I got it. So I think I know, and now I need a visual improvement. So if we can do it UX, but this is the most question that I get. So can we skip UX and do a good UI? And I can say, yes, I can, but this is the gut feeling. So I can present you with the best UI looking, but I'm not sure it's going to work. So if you're happy with that, so yeah, that's my answer to them. And then gradually they understand, okay, you're right. So yeah.
And if you don't like visual,
you need to iterate. So we do iterations, 100 of the time. Just any iterations, but we need to understand what it is the color that they don't like, it is the placement of the specific feature, So for that, we are giving our reasoning behind this.
And they pay more for every iteration, or you got just
It
three?
depends on the contract. So we say, for example, we have 3 iterations, for example, in this during this interaction with you. If you need more iterations, we can actually go for another round of contract or add more price to it, for example.
Sorry, we have a little time, so we have the last question, and after we have a little networking.
Maybe after I can.
Yeah, we can. Sorry, we have one question, and okay, this is really good. Okay, Washington have one question.
Sure.
Well, the big ball is always a trick question, but there is another one. When you are working with small teams and like most of the startups start with 3 person, 4 persons, and they don't have enough team, enough hours to dedicate in a project. How you manage what is important in UI, UX to focus first when you are building the product? Like, how is the step by step that you will follow to achieve a better results? Because if you go to user research, you will spend time and money, and you need more people most of the time. So how do you recommend that for a small startup you achieve a better result?
Exactly. So for the small startups, you need to satisfy the CEO and the executive team. That's the only, that should be your, ultimate goal. For now, forget about the team. I'll get into it later, but just understand the expectations from the CEO and executive team, what they want and how they understand user experience. If it's something new for them, so don't spend time on user researching. So you can iterate over later. So as for example, user experience designers, they understand the basic principles of good UI and visual hierarchy, all these things, good visual design. They understand. So go with the best effort with that in the first iterations or second iterations, and gradually you can introduce user research because you need to actually foster this kind of user experience process gradually into the startups because most of the startups they don't understand and they don't value the whole process that we discussed here, organizations, important research, test. Sometimes they don't test, just go. I'm okay with this. I'm happy. Let's go. Let's put it into development. So gradually you need to, but this needs to be step by step because if you insist on user research, they're gonna fire you for sure. So that's the experience. So for startup builders, you need to understand them and you need to serve only their expectations for that. That's my suggestion. And then gradually you can refine your process between the UX designers, embed user researching as well, and also moving forward from that. But it needs to be as I discussed earlier. So it needs to be visually illustrate to the executive team that this is the value. So as we have user research, maybe we can hire one user research part-time, maybe we can start it part-time because this is the value that we get. This is the best iteration of the design and this is the result. So we are having, for example, some issues that we don't know the root cause. Probably user researchers can help us. But it's your job to actually convey in a good way and at the right moment, the right time that we need this resource and then refine your UX design team gradually. So it needs to be gradual, that process.
And sorry, probably the main priority there is user interface because pretty things sell, right? So the CEO wants something beautiful to try to sell it either to audience or whatever. Even if it doesn't work, it's part of their pitch saying, yeah, we are getting there, but first make it beautiful.
Yeah, because the reason is okay, I confirm this design. If something goes wrong, so you told me, you are the CEO, so never they cannot. Okay, that's my job. That's good. I think maybe we can change it. So, what are your suggestions? So, and then you can suggest maybe we can have a user research. So that's the best moment to suggest somebody new and then refine the process.
I have another suggestion for the early stage startup. Just approach to schools like UX UI design school, because for the final project we were eager to find startups to deliver a MVP with the user research and the product course, all the process that we presented, and it's for free. So, I mean, just another suggestion that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have.
And also sometimes if your startup is in growth phase, so you need to have growth user experience designer, which is a new role. I mean, designing for growth is a different topic, just how you can actually onboard people, onboard new users in a intuitive way. That's also another topic that you can actually convey to the executive team. So we need the growth designer, for example, to focus on onboarding people, building growth techniques to the design. More questions? All good?
All good.
Back to
Thank
you.
you, one clap. I will share the